I'm going to tell y'all about a man named Gordy. And this man named Gordy, he wasn't homeless, but he lived on government assistance. He was a big fella. He was probably about, now he wasn't tall or nothing. He was probably about 6 foot, but he was wide as all give out. He was probably about close to 380, 400 pounds. And old Gordy used to walk around in the town that I'm from. And he used to climb up into the water tower. Get in there and swim around and take baths. Now, this is a true story. Now, poor old Gordy got up in there one day, and the hatch closed down on him. And that hatch is heavy. That hatch is probably had to be about 100 pounds. And when you down in water swimming, you can't get no ground to put your feet on, because that water is probably about, I don't know what, 20 foot deep up there in that big old water tower. And so he didn't have no way to get in there to get that lid back open, because you can't push off on anything. Boy, well, he ended up dying in there, and nobody had seen him in a while. It's probably been about maybe a week before anybody had seen old Gordy. And the water tower maintenance fella went up there because people were complaining that the water was coming out funky, And they went in there, found old Gordy blowed up. Boy, he was, I don't know if you know this, but if you've died and you're in the water for a good long time, your body starts to break down, turns into like a jelly type shit, and just kind of, I don't know, breaks down into nothing. And so they found him. He's all blowed up in there, half melted away, and just, it was nasty. I hadn't seen pictures of nothing, but this small town, people talk. The people went up in there and found him and pulled his body out and stuff. They talk, tell you what happened, what it looked like and stuff. Well, I reckon for that whole time he was gone, and probably for a while after that, because, that water was still in the lines, And they had to dump all that water and clean it out, but that water was still going through them lines, and people had been drinking out of that tower for, the week that he was missing. And of course, there was boil water advisories from where I live for, hell, as long as I remember living there, because that water there was just no good. And so he was in there for a while, and people had been drinking dead man water, you know what I mean? And so everybody was drinking Gordy juice, essentially. That's just something crazy. People, I remember that to this day, water coming out brown and just fucked up looking, little chunks in it sometimes. And that was Gordy. People were drinking old Gordy. Well, poor old Gordy. But that's about the really only exciting thing that I wouldn't call it exciting, but really the only story you can tell about Gordy, other than he just walked around the town all the time with a little cane. But that's the story of Gordy.